morning, church.
Good morning.
Sure is good to be with you today. Not having got circumstances, Brother Daniel's situation of being exposed, needing to be tested, but he's doing good, being cautious, and that's what needs to happen. So I'm glad to be here with a lot of old friends. It's good to see you all today. I don't know everybody. I see some new faces I don't know. My name's Tim Green. I'm a missionary for the Baptist churches in Seminole and Hughes County. And just really happy to be with you today. And if you notice, when we had a shake hands time, I was going around bumping elbows to people. And people that don't know me thought, well, what in the world is wrong with him? That guy's a handshaker and a hugger. How come he's bumping elbows? Well, my wife and I have a son with a compromised immune system. So I'm just trying to take a little bit extra care for his benefit. If you have a Bible, or can you get close to one, join me in Ephesians chapter 6. Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 4. Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 4. I heard a man say, before I was married, I had 3 theories about raising children. He said, now I have 3 children and no theories. You know, only those who have tried to raise kids can appreciate the statement that insanity is hereditary. You get it from your children. That really is true. Trying to raise children is an inexplicable blessing, and it's also an incomparable challenge. It will bless you, it will drain you, it will excite you, it will exhaust you. It will do all of those things at the very same time. There was a man who was the father of 3 wild preschoolers. And somebody asked him one time, if you had to do it all over again, would you still have kids? He said, yes, just not these 3. So, anyway, we come today to salute our fathers. We're going to unpack a verse that speaks directly to fathers. And by way of introduction, I just want to say that everyone in this room had a father, has a father, is a father, or will be a father. So this verse really speaks to every one of us today. Let's read it together. It says, fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and the admonition of the Lord. This verse has 2 parts, kind of a wrong way and a right way, the first part and the second part. And we're going to start with the first part, the wrong way. It says, provoke not your children to wrath. What does it mean to provoke our children to wrath? Well, what it means is we impose our will on them instead of impressing God's will on them. We attempt to indoctrinate them into our own opinions and ideas rather than helping them understand the truth, the beauty, and the application of God's Word. It's the difference between instruction in the will and ways of God and indoctrination into our own personal opinions. Dads, let's face it, our preferences are almost never our children's best choices. I have a son who's going to be 40 this year. I know I don't look that old. People usually really laugh when I say that. Ron and I are twins, if y'all didn't know. But anyway, when my almost 40-year-old son was 16, he was a high school student basketball player, and I was a pastor of the First Baptist Church of Calvin, America. You know where that is. And he came to me one time and he said, Dad, the basketball coach says you're going to have a tournament Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night. Can I play Wednesday night, or do I need to go to church? And I noticed my daughter was looking at me, my wife was looking at me, my son was looking at me. And without thinking very much, I gave him the Joshua 24:15 answer. As for me and my house, we'll serve the Lord. So no, you need to go to church. Well, sounded okay to me. Seemed to sound okay to them. I I didn't really give it much more thought. Now let's fast forward about 16 years. I'm talking to a man who's a friend of mine, pastor. He has a 16-year-old daughter who just asked him the very same question. He's telling me the story. And here's how he answered her. He said, you know, sweetheart, you're a believer. You're a Christian. You're smart. You're wise. You're intelligent. So you make that decision for yourself. But remember that whatever you decide, there'll be consequences in either direction. So you need to make your decision, and you need to support your decision. Pretty good dad answer, huh? Well, as he was telling this story, the Holy Spirit just reached out and grabbed my heart. Has he ever done that to you? I was driving down the road from leading my meeting with this guy, and I just had to pull over to the side, and I felt the white-hot heat of conviction. Because what I realized is when I said, as for me and my house, I really wasn't thinking that. What I was really thinking is, if my son plays in the basketball tournament on Wednesday night, the people at the church are going to think less of the preacher. What's my reputation in the community going to be like? So my answer was not given to honor Christ. My answer was given to protect me, to be sinful and to be selfish. I felt the Lord's hand on my heart, heavy conviction. Picked up the phone, sitting on the side of the road, and called my wife. I said, you may not remember this. She said, I remember it. I said, I'd like to apologize because I was sinful and selfish. And I didn't seek God. I tried to do it my way. She said, you going to call the kids? That's what you moms say, right? I said, yeah, I'm going to call the kids. And I called my daughter, who was just kind of a spectator. And I said, see, she may not remember something that happened about 16 years ago. And she said, Dad, I remember everything about it. And I said, I need to apologize to you because I was wrong. I was selfish and sinful. She was weeping. I was weeping. She said, Dad, I forgive you. And then I sat down to talk to my son. Some of you know the story. He was in a plane crash 10 years ago. He has traumatic brain injury. He's able to communicate and do well. He can't stay by himself. I sat down with him, and I said, son, you may not remember this. And I told him the story. He says, I remember. And I said, I'd like to apologize to you and ask you to forgive me. And he began to weep, and I began to weep. And he looked at me and he said, Dad, I forgive you. I tell the story to let you know that we're all dads in training. Amen? All us dads make a lot of mistakes, don't we? One of the greatest things we can do is ask for God's forgiveness, and He'll give it. And ask for our children's forgiveness when God shows us where we've done things on our own will and not on His ways. Okay, let's switch to the other side of the verse, the positive application. Yeah, the King James, this is nurture and admonition. Literally, it means bring your children up in the training and instruction of the Lord. So what does that mean, training and instruction? Training means literally to create a joyful obedience. Children who are disobedient cannot be joyful. When you and I are disobedient to our Heavenly Father, we cannot be joyful. So the idea here is this training idea is to create a corral, if you will, where there can be containment, control, and training. Yeah, there's some freedom to run around in there, sure. But there's also some fences that you want to stay inside. It's the ability to transmit these things to your children so that they choose to be joyfully obedient, not to let them run wild, but neither to force or impose our will upon them, but to teach them and train them in the things of God. So what are the biblical ingredients of building this corral, if you will? And here's some of the things you'll need for construction. First of all, you'll need the love of God. Not an imperfect human love, but the love of God that is always and instantly forgiving, always always speaks the truth in love. The love of God that is eternal, life-changing. In addition to that, teaching. And that means practicing and teaching the ways of God. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't teach your children how to change the oil or mow the yard. Usually, when my kids were at home and something needed to be fixed around the house, my daughter is very mechanically inclined to say, Dad, give me the screwdriver and go sit down before you hurt yourself. I won't tell the rest of that story, but there was a reason she said that. So, anyway, but yeah, we need to teach them those things, but we also need to teach them the Word of God. And the best way to teach them the Word of God is to live the Word of God. Amen. We can't live the Word of God unless we know the Word of God. How about dedication? Dedication means trusting God and being at peace. Now, if you're human, you're going to have stuff come at you. Negative stuff, difficult stuff. Things that cause you to wrestle around with some things in life you didn't expect. Perhaps some terrible, awful things have come at you or will come at you or have come at you right now. The idea is not that we're happy about those things, but that we trust God. There's a great passage over in Philippians chapter 3 that says, be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication, let your requests be made known to God. Yeah. And the peace of God that passes understanding will guard your heart and your mind in Christ Jesus. Isn't that cool? When we're wanting to be anxious, when we're afraid, more upset, more bothered, more scared, we can pray to Him, and as a result of that, the peace of God will pass all understanding, and I love that, where it says it will guard your heart and your mind. Amen? That's good stuff right there. Here's another corral creation idea, discipline. Good discipline, godly discipline. I think of guardrails. Again, I think of a road that has some guardrails on either side. Their life is driving down that road, and so they have some freedom to kind of move around and make some choices, but if they start getting off the road, that's where the guardrails are. Kind of help them get back in the middle. We need to give responsibility. We need to let them make choices. Those choices need to have good consequences, bad consequences if warranted. But mainly we need to teach them critical thinking and how to live according to God's will and God's way by setting those guardrails. By the way, they'll push against those guardrails, but those guardrails are an expression of love. Amen? Amen. Here's one final thing if you want to build this corral, and that is an example. For better or worse, as dads and parents, our children spend less time listening to what we say and more time watching what we do. Amen or not? Yeah. And every one of us has these MP4s playing in our head, or if you're an old guy, parent tapes, we call them, of things our parents did and said that are still playing in our heads, right? You kind of can't get that out of there. It's sort of stuck in there. Well, for better or worse, moms and dads and grandparents, we are also building those MP4s into the heads of our children and grandchildren. Doesn't mean we're not going to make mistakes, but it means we can apologize for those mistakes and let them know that we're seeking God's forgiveness and their forgiveness and wanting to live in a way that pleases and honors Him. Because here's the deal. Whether you're a parent or a grandparent, they want to be just like you. So if we want to be just like our Father, at the end of the day, they'll want to be just like our Father. Amen or not? Amen. Okay, that's the training. The other word is instruction. What does it mean when it says instruction? It means to improve a person's reasoning so that they can get in the habit of reaching godly solutions. When we look at a situation, what we do here, not sure how to handle the situation, is to train them in reaching godly solutions. Now, the only way we can do that is to know God's Word. Because God's will is God's Word. I hear people say sometimes, I don't know what God's will is for my life. Well, friends, you're holding it in your hand. God's will is God's Word. We can find out what to do in life by simply looking in here. Godly thought processes are a result of knowing and doing the will of God. There's a verse in Psalm 119:11 that I dearly love. Many of you know it. It says, Lord, your word have I hid in my heart so that I might not sin against God. We hide his word in our heart. So there's both sides of the equations. Fathers, provoke not your children to wrath. Don't exasperate your children, but instead, bring them up in the training and the instruction of the Lord. And by the way, it doesn't matter what age your children are. It doesn't matter if they're this big, or this big, or this big. Dads, you're always a dad. Always. And I'll tell you this, dads are destiny. I was listening to a Christian comedian the other day, and he was talking about being in his 50s, and his dad was in his 70s, and he was mowing his dad's yard, and he was being a comedian, and he said, yeah, there was my dad sitting on the front porch telling me I was doing it wrong. He said, you know, someday I'm going to be like 90 years old. My dad's going to be like 110 or something. I'm going to be out there pushing that lawnmower. He's going to be saying, you're doing it wrong. And I'm going to be saying, I'm just trying to get your approval. Everybody laughed at how true that is. Amen? Every one of us desires the approval of our boss. If you have a father still on earth, then you can be Christ to him. And if he's a godly man, he'll appreciate that. He'll approve. As a father of a child of any age, you can also do exactly the same thing. You can give him your approval and unconditional love. Doesn't mean you always agree with their decisions. My wife and I used to joke that we worked so hard to raise up these kids to think for themselves. And now that they're grown, darn it, they don't do it. Because sometimes they make some decisions that we wouldn't make. Amen? That's okay because it's their life. And so we're here to be cheerleaders. Dads, we kind of have to make a transition. When they're little, we're sort of the commander. When they get in middle school, high school range, we're kind of the coach. I mean, they're in the game, we're coaching. But when they get out on their own, we're just a cheerleader. We're just there to encourage. And you'll see some difficult family situations if you've got a 25, 30, 35-year-old son and daughter who's married, and the parents are still trying to be the commanders. That doesn't fly at all. Listen. So, fathers, provoke not your children. I want to conclude today with this thought. You and I cannot undo the past mistakes of fatherhood. And we've all made plenty of it. But while we can't change the past, we can still affect today and tomorrow. And the way that we become good and godly dads and granddads is not by trying harder to do better. It's about walking with Jesus Christ. Letting him take captive our thoughts, words, and actions and make them obedient unto his Father. And then we know the way. Finally today, I want to say Happy Father's Day to the best Father there is, our holy, heavenly Father.
Amen.
Happy Father's Day. And I also want to say Happy Father's Day to all you dads that are here. And I invite you to take a look in your own heart and in your own life and make a choice today and every day that follows to walk with Jesus Christ. Will you stand with me? Heads are bowed, eyes are closed. In just a moment, we're going to have a time of invitation. The invitation is for everyone in the room. I invite you to come forward and receive Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior. If you're here today and you're already a believer, I invite you to come forward and pray. I invite you to pray where you are. I invite you to make a recommitment of your heart and your life to Him. As I said, we can't undo the past, but we can make a different future by choosing today and every day to walk with you. Let's pray. Father, I pray and ask that you would just be here among us today, that you would convict us of our sin, that you would convince us of your righteousness, and that you would call men and women and boys and girls unto yourself right now. In Jesus' sweet, sweet name. Amen. I'll be right here. You come as we sing.